Number 10. Sir-El. Sir-El originally believed she was Kal-El's daughter. She told Superman as much, believing she was the daughter of him and Lois Lane from the future. A genetic test would reveal that she was telling the truth in part, and genetically was Superman's daughter. In reality, it would later be revealed that she was actually created by Brainiac to bring about the end of the world. He created her using Superman's genetic material and implanted her with the Yes virus, a techno-organic virus that when unleashed would allow him to rule the world. She was also designed to be strong enough to defeat Superman. Brainiac had also intended to use Sir-El to destroy his nemesis. Once she learned of this, she decided to erase herself from existence in order to protect the world and her pseudo-father, Superman. Number 9. Summers Twins. The Summers Twins are the children of Emma Frost and Scott Summers. They have a bit of a Cuckoo's vibe to them, but also have darker eyes and freckles than the Cuckoos, resembling Emma a little less and Scott a little more. They have psionic powers which allow them to create solid psionic objects similar to Psylocke's weapons. In the reality of Earth 41001, which they originate from, they are not the only children of Emma and Scott either. Their mother is very protective of both of them, as well as all of her and Scott's children. In this reality, Scott and Emma are actually married. Number 8. Ur-Zod. Ur-Zod comes to us from the Justice Lord's universe. He was created to be the perfect genetic heir to the throne of Earth, and to help usher in an era of peace after years of war. He was created using the genetic material of Wonder Woman and Lord Superman, but is considered to be somewhat weaker in terms of power levels than his parents. Originally, Brainiac got a hold of Ur-Zod, planning to use and raise him as his own weapon of destruction. Fortunately, he was saved by Superman from the Batman Beyond universe and taken in by their Justice League. While his inherited powers might not be as strong as his parents, Ur-Zod also has the unique ability of being able to control technology, which would prove useful later on in his fight against Brainiac. Man, Brainiac's always making all these fake children. Or well, I guess he didn't make this one, but he wanted to like mold it. Brainiac's always up to no good. That's what I'm learning from this list. Number 7. Megan Summers. Megan Summers is the telepathic daughter of both Scott Summers and Emma Frost. She is from the reality of Earth 41001, where they are married. She is the older sister to the Summers twins we talked about earlier, and her youngest sibling Alex, named after the deceased Uncle Alex, aka Havoc. She also studied at the Xavier Institute and was training to become a hero like her parents before her. Number 6. Ariella Kent. Ariella Kent is the daughter of Linda Danvers, formerly Supergirl, and Earth 1 Superman. Ariella lived happily with her parents, presumably until the Spectre informed Linda that she needed to return to her own parallel reality. If you're wondering if it's creepy that Supergirl and Superman have a child together in an alternate timeline, it kinda is if you just hear that without context, but with context, it really isn't that creepy. Linda Danvers is not a Supergirl who is related at all to Clark Kent, not even in her own reality, and even if she had been, which she isn't, this Clark Kent was actually from a different alternate Earth altogether. So no, they're not related. After Linda returned to her reality, Spectre agreed to allow her daughter to live. Ariella, as a 6-year-old girl, was supremely powerful, but didn't have the maturity to wield her powers wisely, because she's just a little kid. She was capable of time travel and mostly traveled through space, playing and unknowingly creating mass destruction wherever she went. That's what happens when you're a kid that is that powerful. You just play with planets and blow them up. Yikes. Number 5. Nate Gray. Nate Gray is the son of Scott and Jean, who was raised by Forge, who basically became his foster father. Scott and Jean never really knew of their relation to Nate when he was born, as he was created by Mr. Sinister to be the perfect psionic mutant. Sinister created him using the genetic material of both Jean Grey and Scott Summers. Mr. Sinister just has all that genetic material. Nate did end up becoming the perfect psionic mutant and is known for being one of the most powerful mutants around. At one point, he was even seen as being a mutant Jesus, being known for a time by the mantle of the Second Coming. He has been shown using his powers to heal and even resurrect people on occasion, as well as warp reality. He also is believed to be a potential avatar of the Phoenix Force due to his ties to Jean Grey and his immense power. Nate also has a telepathic link to his alternate reality brother, Nathan Summers. Number 4. Kara Kent Wayne. Kara was the daughter of Superman and Lois from the same alternate Earth of 3839, born 3 years after her brother. She herself had superpowers similar to her father's, though weaker due to her hybrid human and Kryptonian physiology. Kara would grow up to become a hero and take up the mantle Supergirl, and ended up falling in love with the newest Batman, who was actually Bruce Wayne Jr., the son of the original Batman. Bruce Jr. took up the mantle of Batman following the previous Batman, Dick Grayson's, death. At At Kara's wedding, her brother Joel showed up, having received powers from the serum Lex Luthor had given him, and attacked his family, killing Kara. Number 3. Young Cable. Who is this young kid? I thought Cable was an old grizzled man like we saw in Deadpool 2. If that's what you're thinking, well, you're not wrong, but also, you kinda are wrong. There are in essence sorta 2 Cables, but there's only one Nathan Summers. Sort of. I mean, it's complicated. Basically, young Cable is old Cable, but from his own past. Young Cable, however, killed himself, older Cable, and in essence replaced him in the comics. While he's technically the same character, just from his own past, he's also kind of a very different person as he's at a different stage in his life. In essence, Cable closed his own time loop when he killed himself, which a lot of people hated as they figured, how would Cable not see that coming? And also, they miss old Cable. But of course, all of that confusion was explained. In essence, old Cable knew it was coming, but he also knew because of his past that it kinda had to happen, so yeah. Confusing. Anyways, young Cable is the current main Cable in the Dawn of X line, who is basically a loudmouth, gun-obsessed, cocky kid who loves a good fight, especially if he gets to protect innocent people along the way, or it makes him look badass in front of the ladies. He has dated a bunch of younger mutants already in the comics, but is currently in a relationship with all 5 of the Cuckoos, much to Emma Frost's displeasure. Just watching you, young Cable. Number 2. Hyperman. Hyperman is the son of Wonder Woman and Superman from the Kingdom Come reality. Here, Hyperman, as a baby, was raised by Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman. However, he was then later stolen away by a villain named Gog, who intended to raise the infant to become a villain. Fortunately, the present day and alternate Kingdom Come future counterparts of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman managed to team up to defeat Gog with the added babysitting assistance of Baby John himself from the future, where he is revealed to be the hero known as Hyperman. Hyperman ends up being a hero who has the combined powers of both of his parents and also has the ability to time travel. Number 1. Old Cable. Or just Cable, really. We can just call him Cable. This was the original Cable, a man who was once baby Christopher, the son of Madeline Pryor and Scott Summers, and then grew up to become Nathan Summers. He was infected with the techno-organic virus by Apocalypse, but was later saved by both his adoptive mother, Jean Grey, and his biological father, Scott Summers, with some help from the Inhumans as well. Jean at this point was kinda also like Nathan's mother, and Madeline was out of the picture, having gone insane and become the Goblin Queen after she learned she was a clone of Jean created by Mr. Sinister. Jean was given memories of raising the baby that basically gave her a natural motherly instinct and attachment to the child, although I don't really know why that was necessary. She could have likely raised this baby as her son without needing those memories, but anyways, yes, Jean was also pretty much his mother. After saving the baby, Cyclops and Jean were faced with a hard decision in order to save the baby's life. They decided to send him with Sister Ascani, and they actually would see him again, in the future and the past, and pretty much all throughout and around their timeline and alternate timelines besides. Adult Nathan Summers, Cable, would also at one point become the one responsible for saving his own father's life. Number 10. Charlene Xavier. Charlene is only mentioned in passing, but she seems to be the descendant of Xavier from an alternate future explored in the comic Wolverine and the X-Men in issue 29. Her name Charlene is believed to be meant to pay tribute to potentially her father, Charles, Charlene being the feminine version of the masculine name Charles. She is one of the many mutants named who seems to be a child of some other famous mutants in X-Men, including Carmen Drake, Rose Logan, and Summer Gray. Charlene was one of the candidates for Homecoming Queen in this issue. Number 9. Takeo Sasaki. Sasaki appears in the Marvel Anime alternate universe of Earth 101001. He is the son of Charles Xavier and Yui Sasaki. Takeo was shielded by a device his mother created, which helped to prevent others from being alerted to his mutant presence. She attempted to find a cure for her son's powerful reality warping abilities, but was unable to do so before the Hellfire Club found Takeo and attempted to use his powers to take control. Takeo proved too powerful, however, and lost control of his powers and then killed those who attempted to manipulate him. In the end, he was defeated by his father Professor X, with his body turning to light and fading away. Number 8. Alana Naramani. Alana Naramani is the tyrant who rules the futuristic planet Earth in the year 2018, as seen in the comic Team X-2000. In this alternate reality, she is the daughter of Lilandra and Charles Xavier. A powerful telepath and inspiring but heartless leader, she led an attack on her own mother and father, killing them. Following that, she took over, commanding the populace to pay tribute to her and acknowledge her as their their one true ruler. In the end, the last resistance group was an underground group of mutants and rebels referred to as the Morlocks, a familiar term which had now come to mean something slightly different. Number 7. Xavier. Xavier is the alternate child of Lilandra and Charles Xavier, who appeared in the comic X-Men The End from the early 2000s. On the alternate reality of Earth 41001, Charles and Lilandra had a son who was kept secret from Professor X due to the fact that his and Lilandra's marriage was annulled. Lilandra ended up being killed by Xavier's evil twin sister Cassandra Nova, who then possessed Xavier's body before Xavier himself also died. It's believed he also possesses powerful psionic abilities similar to his father's. Number 6. Legion. This alternate version of David Haller comes to us from the Age of X reality of Earth 11326, and I gotta say, I like his style. He was the son of Charles Xavier, but after his father's death was raised by Moira Kinross, his stepmother. He was a powerful telekinetic mutant in this reality, but this version of David did not possess any of the other abilities or split personalities we are used to seeing that give Legion his name in the main continuity of 616. Although even in this reality, that is David Haller's codename. I must say, I do enjoy his look as well. I like that mohawk, I like those pants, looks like a fighter to me. Number 5. David Xavier. David Xavier is an alternate version of Proteus who belonged to the Ultimate Universe of Earth 1610. This version of Proteus was not the son of Joseph and Moira McTaggart, but instead was the son of Charles Xavier and Moira in this reality. His powers manifested shortly after Professor X abandoned his family to join Magneto in founding the Brotherhood of Mutants. David's mutant abilities were extremely powerful, but using them also depleted his life energy and destroyed his body, meaning he was forced to hop from host to host. For the first little while, Moira was able to prevent this happening by keeping him sedated, but eventually David escaped his mother's care. David possessed Wolverine while attempting to get back at his father for abandoning him and for what he felt was a lack of affection, thinking this was an ideal body for his spirit due to Wolverine's healing factor. In the end, David found himself forced out of this body and jumped to Betsy Braddock's body, tormenting his father before Colossus eventually killed him and Betsy's physical form. Number 4. Charles Xavier II. The Charles Xavier II most of us know is actually from the alternate Earth of 13729. Charles is the son of Mystique and Professor X here, although there also exists a version of him in the Earth 616 continuity. Or there was anyway, until that baby version of him was erased when Matthew Malloy was removed from existence, altering the entire timeline. In the reality where Charles Xavier II still lives, he rebelled against the current X-Men team, who he believed had become a disgrace to his father's memory. This prompted him to team up with his half-brother Reyes, the son of Mystique and Wolverine, to create a new brotherhood. Charles II then used his powerful telepathic abilities to control the minds of various mutants, forcing them to join their brotherhood. Number 3. Xandra Naramani. Xandra is the daughter of Charles Xavier and Magistrix Lilandra. Yeah, I know. Pretty crazy and oddly impressive that Charles managed to be with such a strong and accomplished woman as Lilandra, Magistrix of the Shi'ar Empire. I'm not usually one for rulers, as power in my experience does have a tendency to corrupt, but even this she-devil knows how to recognize another powerful woman and knows well enough to revere her. Xandra, being half human, half Shi'ar, was born of her parents' genetic material following both of their supposed deaths. She was later born from an egg. Xandra is an immensely powerful telepath and is destined as Naramani to become the leader of the Shi'ar Empire. Number 2. Cyclops. While Scott might not be Charles's biological son, Charles was like a father to him. Being without my own father as Red Sonja, I know what that loss must have felt like for Scott, and it makes me smile to think Scott at least did not have to wander through the world young and alone. Eventually. Because he was alone for a while. Except for Mr. Sinister. I don't think you want to be alone with Mr. Sinister though. Though of course later on Scott and his brother Alex and even their youngest brother Gabriel would reconnect with their biological father Corsair, growing up Charles was very much like an adoptive father to Scott. Scott's power first manifested when he was a teenager living at the State Home for Foundlings Orphanage. His powers were how Professor Charles Xavier found him and ended up being able to save him from the villain known as Jack O'Diamonds. Young Scott would then end up going to live at the X-Mansion and become the first student at Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, as well as becoming the first member of the X-Men team. Number 1. Legion. When you think of Charles Xavier's son, one of the first people that likely comes to your mind is David Haller. He's not a great fighter and he suffers from a lot of mental distress due to him having tons of split personalities, which really doesn't speak kindly as to what kind of father Charles was to him. Legion is known for his many personalities, each of which possesses their own unique mutant power. His personalities often take hold of him and control him. At one point, his father attempted to help Legion by erasing these other personalities, but that didn't end great as David's mind rebelled against this treatment. Although it did initially seem to be helping, Legion is often known for being a villain because he is so tormented and lashes out as a result. Legion is the son of Charles Xavier and Gabrielle Haller, a Holocaust survivor who was under Charles's care, and during that time the two fell in love. Number 10. X-Baby. This alternate baby comes to us from the short stories that make up X-Millennial Visions 2000. Here in the story titled Bringing Up Baby, we learn of a son that Jean and Scott both have together in this alternate future. The story shares a conversation the two have, an argument regarding Jean being pregnant. She wants to keep the baby, Scott is contemplating them not having the baby, considering all the problems that then could arise from that. What if something happened? What if he just isn't ready? He's scared, and considering his track record with this kind of situation, I can't say I blame him. Jean keeps pressing though. What if their child has superpowers and can defend themselves? Look at Reed Richards and Sue Storm. They are both heroes and parents. It could work. The next page shows a picture of their son that I guess they agreed to have, who seems to have his father's eyes and his mother's telekinetic powers even as a baby. Their parents look on, slightly amazed and terrified. I feel like raising a super baby would be really hard. Also, where did they get those X-Men brand diapers? Number 9. Van L. Van L comes to us from the famous Superman story for the man who has everything. He was a non-powered son of Superman who existed in Superman's sweetest dreams. Superman experienced these dreams after being exposed to an alien parasitic organism known as the Black Mercy. It drains its victims' life energy while giving them pleasant, hallucinogenic dreams. In Superman's dreams, Krypton was never destroyed and he still lived there. He was married and had a son named Von L. Technically, if they were on Earth, Von L would likely have powers similar to Superman, but because he and Kal-El were on Krypton, where there is no yellow sun to power either of them, they were both just normal, like other Kryptonians. Number 8. Strife. Strife is the evil clone of Cable, who is the biological offspring of Scott Summers and Madeline Pryor. He was created to be a fail-safe child should the young baby Nathan die, succumbing to the techno-organic virus that plagued him. Creating this clone who would grow up to become Strife was the decision of Mother Ascani, who knew of baby Nathan's prophesied importance. Strife was also brought into the world with the same techno-organic virus that plagued his twin, but as Clan Ascani were present for his entire growth cycle, they were able to actually minimize the infection, reducing the risk of it becoming lethal. Both children ended up surviving, but shortly after, Apocalypse busted in and the Ascani were only able to save one of the two babies. The baby they saved was actually the true son of Scott, Nathan Summers. Apocalypse thought he had captured baby Cable, but he'd actually retrieved his clone, Strife, instead. Strife as such was raised by Apocalypse to become his powerful weapon and potentially become the perfect body for Apocalypse to transfer himself into in the future. He was also pretty much raised to be evil, so yeah. Number 7. Lara Lane Kent. Lara Kent is the unborn daughter of Lois Lane and Superman in the Injustice universe. In a dream that Superman has during year 3, we get to see what her life would have been like had that fateful day gone differently for Superman and he hadn't been made to kill his wife and unborn daughter. In this alternate dream reality, Lara is raised by both her parents, her first word notably being mom. When her powers begin to manifest, she is taught by her father and his friends on the Justice League about how to use them. Lara at one point as a young adult looks down at the Earth with her father from space and wonders if the fighting and crime will ever stop. Her dad tells her that they could, if they wished, use their powers to enforce order to save the humans of Earth from themselves, forcing them to have peace. But Lara teases her dad, responding that he sounds like a B-grade villain saying that. Instead, Lara ends up working as an ambassador for the League, helping everyday people to learn how to fight for themselves, instead of just always continuing to have superheroes fighting for them. Number 6. Ruby Summers. Ruby Summers is the daughter of Scott Summers and Emma Frost, and comes from the alternate reality that is also the home reality of Bishop, Earth 1191. Ruby ended up being named by Layla Miller herself, who suggested the name to both her parents. Her mother in this reality is dead, but Scott is still alive, although he is part cyborg in this alternate future reality. Ruby also becomes motivated by Layla to continue the dream of the X-Men and fight for mutant freedom. Her powers are similar to her father's, but she has full control over her optic blasts. She can shapeshift into her Ruby form form, which is similar to her mother's diamond form, and while in this form she does not age, nor does she require food or water to survive. Number 5. Joel Kent. Joel Kent comes to us from Earth 3839. There he was the son of Superman and Lois Lane. However, while Lois was pregnant with Joel, she was exposed to gold kryptonite by the villains Joker and Lex Luthor. This caused her son to be born without any powers. Lex used Joel's shame to his advantage, claiming that Joel's father was the one responsible for this. Lex said that Superman had exposed his unborn son to gold kryptonite on purpose, fearful that his son would become even more great than him. This seeming revelation caused Joel to become more detached from his family, thinking of Lex as more of a father than his own father. He also became more cruel over time. Eventually, he became a villain to his family, accepting a serum that Lex said would restore his powers. Number 4. Mother Ascani. Mother Ascani is Rachel Summers, but from an alternate timeline. Although Rachel has been explained in the comics as being unique when it comes to kind of her alternates. She doesn't so much have alternate versions of herself, more that there are like different aspects of herself scattered throughout various realities and time, but Rachel is kind of always Rachel. She's both all there is and then kind of so much more than that. It's confusing, but it's also what makes her cool. This version of Rachel came into her own state of being after she sacrificed herself to save Captain Britain. Becoming lost in the time stream, she ended up in an alternate future in the 37th century where Apocalypse had taken over the planet 100 years prior. She developed the clan Ascani and would be the one to give the order for Sister Ascani to help save the prophesied Messiah referred to as Ascani's son or Dayspring, which would end up being her alternate timeline brother, Nathan Summers. So many alternate timeline siblings. Hard to keep track of all this traveling through time and alternate realities. Number 3. Jonathan Lane Kent. I love that throughout Superman stories we get to see how powerfully good the super family can be and how powerfully evil they can potentially be as well. Bottom line, either way you slice it, they're powerful. John Lane Kent is the son of Superman and Lois Lane from an alternate future. It was believed that he had died due to an irreparable medical issue with his DNA. Shockingly, it was later revealed that the villain Harvest managed to actually save John, taking his body to the past and resurrecting him. Harvest had his own plans for what John would become and turned him into a villain, using him as a weapon to destroy all metahumans. John is more powerful than his father, sharing his powers, but also possessing the ability to turn invisible. It's later revealed that the original Superboy, Kon-El, was basically a clone of John and not Superman like we originally thought. Shocking. Number 2. Rachel Summers. Rachel has got to be one of the most confusing of the Summers children, and I say that fully acknowledging all the confusing stuff that we just talked about, including the stuff with Cable. While there is the version of Rachel Summers that became Mother Ascani, there is also multiple other versions of her besides, especially as her splitting into separate entities is literally a part of sort of Mother Ascani's story. Anyways, this Rachel Summers is from the alternate Earth of 811, and for most people is considered the Rachel Summers, the main one. Here she was born to Jean and Scott after Jean had bonded with the Phoenix Force and ended up living after having the confrontation with the Shi'ar. Rachel didn't just inherit her mother's extraordinary telepathic and telekinetic powers though, she also inherited the Phoenix Force itself, part of which resided within her, allowing her to use its power whenever she needed. She was friends with Franklin Richards and lived peacefully in her reality until the anti-mutant Senator Kelly was killed. This ended up resulting in pandemonium and public panic, which resulted in the death of her mother and her father, as well as an apocalyptic future where all superhuman beings were essentially captured or killed. Rachel's powers allow her to manipulate time and travel through it, which was kinda how she ended up in the reality of Earth 616. Number 1. Jonathan Samuel Kent, or just John Kent if you will. This is Superman and Lois Lane's child who was born during the events of Convergence. He grew up without really ever knowing the truth of who his parents were, growing up relatively normal but suspicious of what his parents really did. The Kents changed their name to the Whites, escaping the fate of their dying universe and taking up residence on the new Prime Earth, trying to raise John normally and not get in the way of their alternate selves in this new world. Lois still worked as a writer and journalist, but publishing her works under the pseudonym Author X, and Superman kept his superheroic activities under wraps and secretive, going out at night and appearing as a shadow of Superman, as this world kinda already had their own Kal-El. Eventually, the new 52 Superman died, and so the Whites became the Kents once more, and stepped into their usual roles once again. John's powers manifested when he first hit puberty, discovering his laser vision when he accidentally killed the family cat. Shortly afterward, he would take up the mantle Superboy and become a hero alongside his father, starting a rivalry and later a friendship with Batman's son, Damian Wayne. But that's all behind him now, as he went to space, grew up quickly, and now he's a member of the Legion of Superheroes and goes on adventures in the future. Because comics.
Kicking off the list at number 10, we have Ultimate Red Skull. Making his debut in the Ultimate Comics Avengers 1 back in 2009, Ultimate Red Skull is a lot different than the Red Skull casual moviegoers would have guessed at this point. See, the son of Steve Rogers, yes, and Gail Richards. They even hid him and trained him to become the next Captain America. It's wild. The Ultimates are wild. He always feared that he would never live up to his father's expectations. I mean, fair. At just age 17, he killed all the doctors and soldiers at the military base. He was in charge, and his side hustle was planning this badass escape in the meantime. He then got the haunting look by using a kitchen knife and carving his head. So that's disgusting. Nice gross way to kick off this list. And before we continue on to number 9, guys, if you could go ahead and Hulk smash that like button because it really helps us out here at the studio. You guys are the best. Now back to the list. Coming in at number 9, we have Lyra. Taking place on Earth 8009, beginning with Hulk Raging Thunder issue 1. We find Lyra Walters, or sometimes referred to as Savage She-Hulk. She is the daughter of Thundra and Earth 616 Hulk. So yeah, she's from Earth 8009 in the 23rd century, and at that time the Earth was split into different factions, right? So the guys faction were like warriors, they looked up to like past heroes. Then the women came together under the United Sisterhood Republic, and they were outgunned and outmanned, like literally outmanned. So Thundra got sent to Earth, our Earth 616, where she met our Hulk, and had a baby. How cute. Lyra actually gets stronger when she's calm, and she's able to tap into the gamma sight, which means she can see the flow of gamma radiation. I'm doing my best interpretation of gamma radiation. Can't see the green, but it's a lot of gamma behind me. So she becomes a smarter and smoother fighter in this state. But if she becomes angry, she'll actually become weaker, which is fun. Let's play with that idea a bit. Number 8, Ultron. In the MCU, Tony and Bruce are the masterminds behind Ultron. But in the comics, it was actually Hank Pym. See, Ultron made his first debut back in 1968 in Avengers 54, and beneath the crimson cowl, we discover is indeed Ultron Pym. I love how in Age of Ultron they used a red cowl to hide his new and improved look. It was a nice reveal. In the comics, Hank Pym was actually the father of Ultron, so there's been many versions of Ultron, seeing as he constantly wants to upgrade himself and be bigger, badder, and bolder. He actually has the same brain patterns as Hank Pym. He figured it needed a personality, much like our MCU version of Ultron is basically Tony Stank, but with more, you know, metal, rage, fire, and blood, and horribleness. Number 7, Franklin Richards. Born in New York City, Franklin Richards, of course being the son of Reed Richards and Susan Storm, is quoted from Galactus himself as the most powerful mutant ever. Nice, that's it. Put that on a resume. Boop, that's sick. He is a mutant beyond Omega power. You heard it from Big Guns himself. See, Franklin was a member of Gen X, and he's also a future X-Men member in the Ultimate X-Men comics. Some of his powers include vast reality warping, psionic powers. He also has control over the universe, so awesome. He's got precognitive powers, so his dreams tip him off on what's gonna happen in real life. That happens to me, except it's always embarrassing, and they end up happening. He can see the future in his dreams. That's so OP. He can resurrect the dead, he can time travel, teleport, astral project, and he can duplicate planets and or people. So yeah, ego, living planet. You're doomed either way, pal. At a young age, he was able to create a pocket universe, and then in Fantastic Four issue 604, this dude even took on not 1, not 2, but 3 Celestials. One of them he actually just took out with 1 punch. 1 punch, man. 1 punch, man. Huh. Needless to say, Franklin Richards is not somebody you want to mess with in any of his pocket universes. Franklin has a middle name, and that's Benjamin, which is nice because they named him after their good pal, Ben Grimm, the Thing. My middle name's Douglas. Number 6, Red She-Hulk. So this mysterious character just showed up when the Red Hulk gathered a team to hunt down Domino. So while Wolverine was fighting Red Hulk, he like scratched his eyes out, which is a mess. And then just as Wolverine was about to finish him off, bam, Red She-Hulk comes in to save the day, and she's fierce. Like right off the bat, she taunts Wolverine by showing him her fancy new outfit that used to belong to Domino. Like she had Domino's gun, she had Elektra's sai, and then she bragged about how she killed the two and took their weapons and clothes. So she's kind of a hot mess. She held off the fight long enough for Red Hulk to recuperate, and then unbeknownst to Red Hulk until later on, the identity of the new mysterious Red Badass is actually none other than Betty Ross. General Ross became the Red Hulk and was an Avenger at one point, so his daughter, Betty, naturally also became the Red She-Hulk. Now, I know what I said about her earlier makes her sound like an absolute savage. In some of these comics, yeah, she is. She even killed the Hulk in Incredible Hulk 634, so you gotta check more of her out. Her powers are pretty nuts. During the scrap with Wolverine, she spat in his face, which is yucky. First of all, we don't do that anymore, 6 feet apart, people. But secondly, her saliva is acid. So she grabbed Red Hulk and they both ducked out in the sewers while his eyes melted. Yuck. Number 5, Stinger, aka Cassie Lang. This one I think we actually might see in the MCU sooner than we think. So, yes. The daughter of Scott Lang, aka Ant-Man, is one of my favorite parts of the Ant-Man films. She's so cute, she's funny, the way they interact, it's just good. It's a nice father-daughter relationship that we kind of saw with Morgan and Tony, but it was just nicer, and this lasted much longer. So in the comics, she actually took over for her father after his death and Avengers disassembled. Now, I don't think Paul Rudd's gonna leave the MCU anytime soon, but if/when he does, I think they've shown enough growth of Cassie Lang, literally, that they can have her suit up now. I mean, who knows, maybe after he supposedly blipped, Cassie wanted to like avenge him and stuff. We didn't really see a lot of that side. Even in the comics, she was asked by Scarlet Witch to join the Young Avengers. Then she donned the name Stinger after she died and came back to life. Now, while I don't think this exactly is gonna happen anytime soon in the movies, I'm getting an idea that she works alongside Scott Lang in the next movie. That's my prediction. See, Scott watched Hank and Hope play catch up during this franchise. She practically begged him to get her own suit, but Hank's like, no, or Michael Douglas said no like 1,000 times. He yelled a lot too. Scott probably saw this and knew it was gonna happen eventually with him and Cassie, right? So we had that little time jump in Endgame, now we've got an older Cassie in a world that's pretty dangerous. Maybe we'll see it, maybe we won't. Maybe it's Maybelline. And number 4, Valeria Richards. The second child, as you would have guessed, by Reed Richards and Susan Storm. She made her debut in Fantastic Four Volume 3, Issue 54. Valeria is also so badass like her brother. She may not be as powerful as her brother, with the whole Omega level pocket universe jazz, but she's super smart, smarter than her dad even. Pretty sick. She's also more into working alongside her uncle, Victor Von Doom. There's always the cool uncle everybody loves, Can't help it, just too cool. Hashtag too cool for school. She believes that Reed also never really used his knowledge to help people. Rather, he just did things for himself, which is a common theme in superhero worlds. Donning the nickname Brainstorm in the meantime, hopefully we get to see her sometime soon. Number 3, Scotty Summers. Making his debut in Mutant X issue 1 back in 1998, Scotty Summers is the son of Avengers member Havoc and Madeline Pryor. The Inferno event is probably the most noted piece of his history. See, they wanted to use Scotty Summers as a sacrifice in order to open up a portal to the Goblin Force. Madeline saved him, but in doing so, she became possessed by the Goblin Queen. This was when he showed his true power. That power just happens to be up there with Franklin Richards. Celestial level, baby. He's the best. He has soul sense empathy, so he has the ability to sense the goodness in others without even touching them. And on top of that, he can read minds, so it doesn't matter how you feel or think, Scotty already knows. And Psionic Firebird is pretty wild too. He can turn into a psychic firebird whose claws can harm you physically and or mentally. Nice. Number 2, Vision, the son of Iron Man and Banner. In Captain America Civil War, we see the fallout of Tony and Cap begin. See, after creating an evil robot son who wants nothing but destruction, Tony figures, well, maybe if I make another one, the new body and Mind Stone will kind of be good. And it did, it was pretty sweet, and he kicks ass. Vision started out as his android that belonged to Tony Stark, and then by time Infinity War, Banner says the line, "You lost another Superbot?" And then Tony responds with, "I didn't lose him, he's evolving." So this is an interesting time in the MCU. Vision is like the son of Iron Man, and then after we lost him, I knew there would be more. Even in this poster, there's a glitch, a little speck of color left in it. In Infinity Gauntlet, we see a colorless Vision after he meets a similar demise. So when that poster was released, I figured there was a part of him that was downloaded and left somewhere because Marvel doesn't just make printing errors. I don't know why we didn't look into this more. So with WandaVision releasing on Disney Plus next year, this could become reality. Who knows where the baby Avenger will end up, but I'm excited and also very nervous. Please be okay. And finally at number 1, we got Scar. Making his debut in World War Hulk issue 5, he was conceived during the Planet Hulk storyline. He's a son of Hulk and Kyra the Old Strong. After Hulk had spent time on Sakaar, he also started spending a little bit of alone time, you know? So after Hulk had left the planet, Sakaar had popped out of a cocoon and he resembled a teenager after just a year. So growing pretty fast. Now given the fact he was born to a not so chill planet, he learned to kill like it was a normal thing. Well, he needed to kill for survival. Eventually, he ends up on Axman Bone's radar. So Scar retains the old power as well. So he has the ability to control tectonic energy, like summon lava and magma, and he can also tap into energy projection. Out of the many children of the Hulk, Scar easily takes the top of that list. And also the top of this list as well, because he's here. So there it is.
Coming in at number 10, we have Jerry Drew. Jessica Drew, otherwise known as Spider-Woman, decided that she would take a break from trying to save the world and focus on building up a family. Well, it turns out the world wanted that to be hard for her too. After the baby was born, it was extremely sick. Since spider people normally get their powers from an irradiated spider, just like Jessica did, they have irradiated blood. This exposure to radiation caused her baby to be very sick, and doctors couldn't find any way to help out the poor boy. This left everything up to Spider-Woman to try and fix the problem. She came up with a cure for her own powers in hopes that this would cure her son of this horrible sickness, and turns out that it unlocked all of his spider abilities. But unfortunately, this didn't cure him from being incredibly ill, but he could still survive with his newfound strength. He would later become Spider-Boy, a young whippersnapper addition to the Spider family. Coming in at number 9, we have Thunderstrike. Eric Masterson was a powerful hero known as Thunderstrike. He was the wielder of a powerful Asgardian weapon, and in some ways it was similar to Mjolnir, but he would fall the sad fate that some heroes are met with, and that is of course dying. In the time of him missing, Thunderstrike's son, Kevin Masterson, would step in as the new hero that everyone needed, and in this time he would have the added edge that his father didn't. The Valkyrie Grunhilda would come down to Earth to teach the young hero how to use his mighty weapon so he wouldn't end up the same way that his father did. Kevin, running around now as Thunderstrike, would be able to become such a powerful hero that there was a time when Thor was nowhere to be found and Kevin stepped in to fill his spot. That's pretty gnarly. You have to be one bad dude to be able to come in and take the spot of the God of Thunder. Of course, when Thor came back, he was like, sorry kid, but I'm the only God of Thunder around here. And guys, make sure you hit that like button because it really helps us out. Is Modi Thorson. When you're one of the most powerful gods to ever walk the 9 realms, there are going to be a few people who want to have a baby with you. When Thor was trapped in hell, he wanted to get out, and the goddess Hela said she would do it, but for a price, and she wanted Thor to give her a baby. And Thor thought this deal wasn't half bad, so he agreed to impregnate Hela in order to be released from hell. This all went off without a hitch, and then after a few weeks, a child just showed up in Asgard, and Thor didn't really know what to do with this kid, and there was a massive war that was about to kick off with the Children of Tomorrow. So Thor didn't have time to protect a kid, teach a kid, and fight off the Children of Tomorrow. So Thor did what any good dad would do and locked his son away in a room with Mjolnir. That way when he was worthy, he would be able to break out of the room that he was locked away in. Seems like a smart parenting plan. So time flowed faster in the room, so after a couple weeks, Modi Thorson was a full-grown man and could now wield Mjolnir. He burst out of the room, he hated his dad, and then he tried to destroy America to build a new Asgard, and he had some pretty intense magical powers. Coming at number 7, we have X-23. No, technically not a child. Wolverine didn't impregnate someone to make X-23, but he has definitely raised her as a daughter, and he has an emotional attachment to her as if she was his own flesh and blood, which she is just not in the traditional sense. X-23 is of course the clone of Wolverine, who was built for one reason and one reason only: to be a tool of death. She has Wolverine's same powers and has been trained in hand-to-hand combat in ways that rival even Wolverine himself. She also constantly struggles with the fact that she was made as a weapon. The people who made her see her as property and can use her for whatever whatever nefarious purposes they want, but of course Laura Kinney, also known as X-23, is a person and doesn't want to be treated like someone's property. I don't know if the people making her ever thought that she would take after her father, like maybe it was a bad idea to clone the dude who you tried to turn into a weapon before and then rebelled against you and has been fighting against you ever since he escaped. Who would have thought that his clone would do pretty much the exact same thing? Coming in at number 6 we have Hope Summers. The aptly named Hope was the first mutant to make it into existence after the world was hit with the tragic event known as M-Day. This of course was the day that nearly all of the mutants were wiped from Earth, and it would seem that no mutant would ever be born again. Once this girl was alive, she showed immense levels of power. She was able to bust Rogue out of a coma, and it would seem that this new mutant would be the target for everyone who either wanted mutants dead or who wanted to direct the future of mutant kind. So Cable takes the child to the future where she can grow up in secret and train with one of the greatest warriors of all time. She would later come back with a strong understanding of her powers. Hope Summers has the ability to mimic other mutants' powers and even use them more powerful than the original host. So she basically has the power to show you up at your own game. She'd be like, oh yeah, you have eye lasers? Well, I'll just beat you at your own game with these eye lasers that are even stronger than yours. Hope is also an Omega level mutant, and some think that she could be responsible for the dystopian future that so many of the time travelers are afraid of. Coming in at number 5 we have James Hudson Jr. Well, it turns out that getting another super healing mutant with claws and bloodlust that can't be matched can be created in more ways than just cloning. James Hudson Jr. is the son of Wolverine, and this guy is a badass. This was a little bit of a sneaky move pulled off by the spy Magda. She stole a serum that would guarantee that a baby would come out as a mutant. She then juiced herself up with the serum and then found Wolverine, and the two got hot and heavy. Magda got pregnant, and once she gave birth to a baby, she found Wolverine and was like, hey dude, here's your kid, and left the kid with Wolverine. And I think it's safe to say that Wolverine wouldn't be the best dad ever, which I think he even knows about himself. So Wolverine found an old war buddy, James Hudson, and he left the baby with him for him and his wife to raise. When James Hudson Jr. was finally old enough, his powers revealed themselves, and it turned out he was just like his daddy. From there, it was a little harder to keep the secret about who his daddy actually was, and then we start to get some conflicts between Wolverine and his angsty son. Coming in at number 4 we have Photon, the son of Captain Marvel and one of the most dangerous beings that has ever been brought into the Marvel Universe. Photon has bounced around through a few different phases as a hero. He started off as trying to figure out who he was under the Banner legacy. Then he even took the mantle of Captain Marvel for a bit, but eventually came into his final form of Photon, and it would seem that this form was so powerful it could warp reality itself, and his physical form was so strong that there would never be anything that could destroy him. But it turns out that the Thunderbolts had to find a way to destroy him because Photon couldn't control his powers, and this was going to lead to reality being ripped apart, as it occasionally does in comic books. Basically what happened was Photon was constantly pulling energy into his body without the ability to slow this down. So the Thunderbolts actually had to find a way to dismember him and move his separate body parts into different realities so his body wouldn't bring the end of time and space. It's kind of a bummer for him because he really just wanted to be a good guy. Coming at number 3 we have Kashamba, Black Panther's grandson in one of the most hectic universes that has ever been created in Marvel. For those of you who don't know, Kashamba exists in the Marvel Zombies universe where people are constantly ripping at each other's throats to try and survive. Kashamba had to watch his grandfather, Black Panther, get turned into a zombie to survive. This obviously scares the hell out of the boy, and things get even crazier when the new king takes over Wakanda and then tries to have Black Panther killed. I think it's safe to say that this kid won't grow up well adjusted. Nothing like the mental scarring of your grandfather becoming a zombie and then having an entire nation that you're supposed to inherit try to kill him. Also, later in this comic series, the brain of Steve Rogers gets implanted into Kashamba's body. Things just fly off the handle in this universe. I mean, the people on Earth 616 thought that they had it rough, but there are way crazier things waiting out for you out in the multiverse. Coming in at number 2 we have Hulkling. He is the product of forbidden love, and his origin actually has very little to do with the Hulk, surprisingly. So Teddy Kaplan Altman was living on Earth not thinking that anything strange was going to happen, but one day he's approached by a Super Skrull who starts telling him that he's part of an alien race and he needs to go to space. Whoa, that's a lot for a kid to take in. Later it's revealed that the lady that he thought was his mom was actually a Skrull, but not his mother. She's a Skrull that was sent to Earth with him to protect him. Then it's revealed that his actual mother is a Skrull princess and his father is a Kree warrior known as the Avenger Captain Marvel. For those of you who don't know, the Kree and the Skrull hate each other, so this is a Romeo and Juliet Juliet scenario. Well, the two sides start fighting over who should have custody rights over this mixed alien kid who thought he was a human, and they decide on joint custody. He'll spend half his life with the Kree and the other half with the Skrull, but a Skrull takes his place so he can stay on Earth. This storyline has more plot twists than an episode of Days of Our Lives. Now, outside of this crazy backstory, Hulkling has super strength and the power to shapeshift. He mimics the Hulk's powers and can shift his powers into so many other forms. Coming in at number 1, we have Wiccan. You know, if you're the son of both Scarlet Witch and Vision, you're gonna have some pretty serious powers. But Wiccan didn't even know that he was the baby of two of the greatest heroes of all time. Eventually, he met up with the young Avenger Speed, and he realized that the two of them are brothers. Eventually, it's revealed who his real parents are, and they should have known because they all have very similar powers. Wiccan can fly, use magic, alter reality, create force fields, teleport, communicate through the mind, and control things with his mind. And if he's anything like his mama, he might end up being one of the strongest superhumans to ever be on planet Earth. We should probably get this kid into some therapy right now, and everyone should be super nice to him. We don't need another M-Day event happening. You know how everything got screwed up and reality was shifted forever.
Kicking off the list at number 10, Bruce Wayne Jr. Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane. In issue 89, we see the front cover and it's Lois Lane marrying Bruce Wayne. It rhymes, so you know it's a good one. And then to the left we see Superman, and he's just thrilled. He's awesome. He's glad to be there. So we have an upset Lois Lane right off the hop. She's pissed at Superman because he keeps going on these secret missions with Wonder Woman. And then on the same page mind you, just a little bit lower, it shows her with Bruce Wayne, and she's loving it. She's like, damn, Bruce is attractive. What? She's like on his shoulders, they're wakeboarding in the sunset. It's beautiful. So naturally they have a baby. I mean, come on, Bruce rocking the green Speedo. Obviously. I love this issue. Superman is like, hey dude, no sweat. You actually have my blessing. Go for it. You got it. Then the next panel he's like, oh, I blew it. Shit. It's so good. The baby, of course, being Bruce Wayne Jr. And before we go on to number 9, guys, if you haven't already, please give this video a thumbs up, because every time you do, somebody here grabs my shoulder and says, good job. And then I smile for hours, so help me smile. Plus it helps us here at the studio too. Awesome, thanks. Okay, over to Huntress. Number 9, the Huntress. Making her first appearance in All-Star Comics issue 69, nice, back in 1977, Helena is a badass lawyer for Cranston, Grayson, and Wayne. But of course, that's not all. Earth 2 is home to the daughter of Batman and Catwoman. When she was only 19 years old, her mother, Selena Kyle, who used to be Catwoman, died in a tragic mishap. And to add insult to injury, literally, the henchman, Silky Cernak, was the reason behind a photo that came out that shows Selena Kyle as Catwoman murdering a police officer. So of course, Helena was pretty pissed and wanted to go make things right. So she took a page out of her parents' book and became the Huntress. She went after Silky Smooth Cernak and got him arrested. And her mother, turns out, didn't even kill anybody. That photo was tampered with. Hashtag photoshopped. She kept the suit and attitude and eventually wound up on the Justice Society of America. See, if you want the truth, guys, you just gotta get a super persona and then throw bad guys in nets. It's that easy. Number 8, Damian Wayne. The son of Batman and Talia al Ghul made his debut back in Batman, Son of the Demon in 1987. And he was perfect. I mean, genetically speaking, he was perfect. He was born from an artificial womb and he was supposed to join the League of Assassins and be a great warrior. That was his life, just laid out. There you go. Which doesn't sound like a bad itinerary. Having a powerful skill set in martial arts before he was even a teenager, Talia al Ghul explained who he was and then left him with his father, Batman. I mean, she was hoping that this would cause problems for Bruce, and then that this would disrupt Batman's work. You know, getting a little one to spy on Batman, stir up some shit with Tim Drake. He was actually quite eager to replace Tim Drake as Batman's wingman, so troubled Damian Wayne grabs another Robin costume, added some cool League of Assassins gear, and then takes out the villain Spook. Does he arrest him? Report his Instagram? No. He actually cuts his head right off his body, so that's certainly one way of serving up justice. Guy's wild. At one point, he even ended up sucker punching Tim Drake off of a T-Rex model, not a real T-Rex. Don't worry. And of course, after Batman RIP and Batman Battle for the Cowl, he becomes the 5th Robin. Number 7, Thomas Taylor Wayne. Wow, what a great middle name. Best name ever, I heard. I don't know. Wild. Thomas Taylor Wayne is the son of Batman and Supergirl, Lara Wayne. In Superman and Batman Generation 3, he was born in the year 2626. And spoiler alert, he dies in 2724. In this generation's imaginary series by John Byrne, we see Thomas Wayne's parents as immortal, which is always a nice time, meaning that Laura is Bruce's great-granddaughter by adoption, and Thomas is both Bruce's son and great-grandson.
Wow.
Number 6, Ibn al-Zufash. Definitely messed up that name, but we're doing our best here. It translates to Son of the Bat. Making his first appearance in Kingdom Come issue 2, Mark Waid and Alex Ross did such a good job. The artwork is absolutely stunning in this epic series. Ibn is the son of Batman and Talia al Ghul. See, Talia kept Ibn as a secret from the Dark Knight. Then later on in life, he basically had to choose what kind of lifestyle he wanted for himself. You know, either go the way of his grandfather, Ra's al Ghul, or follow the steps of his father, Batman. Now, of course, he chose the Bat and took his own grandfather down. That a boy, nice. One time I told my family my grandpa was smoking inside and then I got grounded. So, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Glad it worked well for him. Awesome. Ibn played a little differently though. I mean, he used his grandfather's resources to do good. He eventually winds up falling in love with Nightstar, daughter of Dick Grayson, and Starfire. Number 5, Damian Wayne. Brave and the Bold edition. There we are. Damian Wayne is the son of Bruce and Catwoman, but this time in the Knights of Tomorrow, where he's voiced by Patrick Kavanagh and Diedrich Bader. So while Bruce was looking at baby Wayne, Bruce realized that his son would one day have to take on crime lords. That's so funny to me. Like, superhero context aside, just looking at a baby and being like, oh yeah, you're gonna punch like 900 people in the throat one day. I can see it. It's amazing. After witnessing the death of his parents, he grabbed one of the 2 Robin outfits on display at the Batman Museum, and Bob's your uncle. You know the rest. Number 4, Bruce Wayne Jr. Coming straight from one of the most wild comic book issues ever, we have Batman and Captain America. That's right. Back in 1977, we see Bruce Wayne Jr., the son of Batman, and, well, we don't really know who the mother is. I'm sure she's great though. I'm sure she's awesome. His uncle, being that of Dick Grayson, was always admired by Bruce Wayne Jr. I mean, of course, look at him. I admire him. I didn't even know this guy. As a child, he would dress up in his uncle's Robin suit and do some at-home workouts. Punch, punch, kick, kick, bam, you know? The good stuff. Some Zumba fitness. You know, getting a feel for the suit, which personally, I wouldn't take that suit off if I had access to it. That thing would stink all the time. Gross. So by the time he was 18, he actually worked alongside the new Batman, Dick Grayson. Then after the passing of Batman, Bruce Wayne Jr. swapped outfits and stepped in to take over as Batman. So sick. Kind of like in Santa Claus when Tim Allen puts on the suit. It's go time. Also, this issue has the smoothest transition when Captain America first shows up. It goes from Batman and Robin jumping out of the way from a bomb, and then cuts to Cap in an explosion with him, like the same kind of fire. Little details like that just capture me. So good. So good. Number 3, Terry McGinnis. All right, imagine you're going for your flu shot, and then it turns out it's actually not a flu shot, and it's actually Bruce Wayne's DNA. I mean, after I got the flu, I would have some questions, that's for sure. And I can like chop people in necks. Like, what's going on here? I feel sick, but I'm great at backflips. Project Cadmus director Amanda Waller was out looking for an eventual replacement for Batsy. So she figured she'd get started on Project Batman Beyond. And the key, well, Batman's blood samples left over from his altercations. That mixed in with some nanotech solutions, bam, we have the DNA of Bruce Wayne. So she was out looking for the perfect couple to, you know, force this life onto, and then found that the McGinnis household was perfect. So Ward McGinnis goes for a flu shot, and then he doesn't even know he's soon going to be the father of a biological Bruce Wayne. Surprise, it's a boy. No, for sure, it's a boy, trust me. Number 2, Athanasia Al Ghul. Making her first appearance in the comics on Injustice 2, issue 3, Athanasia, she's referred to as the daughter of the Bat. Talia kept her as a secret from Bruce, because of course, that's how it works in this world always, so many secrets. But she let Damian become a hero and work with Bruce. So, nice. Athanasia was a member of the League of Assassins. She came out of hiding after the fall of Superman's regime and worked with her mother and grandfather, Thomas Wayne. She was caught in El Diablo's explosion and wasn't shielded, presumed dead, until she popped up in Gorilla City after being resurrected from the Lazarus Pit. And finally, number 1, Bruce Wayne Jr. We go over now to the 1965 version of Bruce Wayne Jr. making his debut in World's Finest, issue 154. He's the son of Catherine Kane and Bruce Wayne Sr. He's part of the badass duo referred to as the Super Sons, and that name is pretty perfect for the gang. Sided by Superman Jr., the two would grow up together. And the opening of the issue shows them both reading about their fathers and their super achievements. It's really cute. They even get married on the same day. It's wild. Bad boys for life. My favorite part though is seeing the two interact with Superman Jr.'s powers. There's one point where Superman Jr. wouldn't let Batman Jr. down from a teeter-totter. He said, "I won't let you down until you admit my dad has caught more crooks than your dad." The classic "my dad can totally beat your dad up" scenario. The Super Sons eventually figured out their existence was a sham, and they were just a computer simulation all along. But aren't we all in a simulation?
Number 10. Hunter Prince. Hunter is the son of Wonder Woman from an alternate timeline. He first appeared in the 2016 Justice League story arc called Legacy. It's a 6-part story starting in issue 26 that allows us to meet the children of some of the original team from an alternate timeline. Hunter himself appears to be armed with his mother's lasso of truth, her bracelets of submission, and her razor-sharp tiara. Hunter was adopted and raised by the Kents, growing up alongside Superman and Lois' son, John Kent. Number 9. Aqua Baby. Arthur Curry Jr. is also known as Aqua Baby and is the main continuity child of both Queen Mara and King Aquaman. Or he was anyways. He went on a few adventures with his parents but was tragically kidnapped by Black Manta and suffocated to death before either of his parents could save him. Due to the fact that he was Atlantean, Aqua Baby was unable to breathe out of water for a prolonged period of time. The death of baby Arthur is what drove a wedge between his parents, eventually causing them to separate. Though Arthur and Mara seem to be once again getting hitched, so perhaps we will also see a return of Aqua Baby, or more likely some other version of the character reintroduced to us. And before we move on to our number 8 spot, I just wanted to say thank you for watching, and if you want to help us out at the channel, you can do so by giving this video a thumbs up. It really does help. Number 8. Hyperman. Hyperman is the son of Superman and Wonder Woman from the alternate reality of Kingdom Come. He is also raised in part by Batman, who is basically like his godfather until he was kidnapped and spirited away. After the heroes rescued him, the child seemingly disappeared, but we would later learn this is because he was actually raised by an older version of himself who resides within Hypertime. Young Jonathan Kent, as fate would have it, was destined to become the guardian of Hypertime, which pretty much means he was considered powerful and important enough to be the guardian of the pathways of the multiverse. Or the pathways to the multiverse, you know, lots of spacey stuff, lots of spacey Grant Morrison stuff. Number 7. Serenity. Serenity is the daughter of Aquaman and Mara in the alternate timeline that is explored in Justice League's Legacy story arc. We learn that although she was close to and loved her mother, she has a much strained relationship with her father, who also appears as a villain opposing the Legacy team of heroes. Eldris Curry's outfit seems to be inspired by both her father and mother and her Atlantean heritage. She also has been shown to possess super strength, teleportation, and water manipulation powers. Number 6. Connor Hawke. Green Arrow has had quite a few kids, even just in the main continuity. One of the most famous, however, is Connor Hawke, his natural-born son by his girlfriend Sandra Moonday Hawke. Connor would grow up to become the second Green Arrow following the apparent death of his father. His mother raised him by herself, teaching him about who his father was and telling him that she did love his father dearly. Connor first met his father when he was studying at the Ashram Monastery, the same monastery he knew his father had retreated to years ago. Oliver once more was doing just that and visited the monastery again after Black Canary had broken up with him. The adventure these two ended up going on didn't end so well though, as Green Arrow was made aware of Connor's true identity and connection to him before Connor had found the right time to confess that he was his son. Yikes. Shortly thereafter, Green Arrow died and Connor took up his father's mantle, becoming friends with the new Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner, just like his dad was friends with Hal Jordan. It's so cute. Number 5. Warhawk. Warhawk is the future son of Green Lantern John Stewart and Hawkgirl from the DCAU, DC Animated Universe. He first appeared in the animated series Batman Beyond and was created by Paul Dini and Alan Burnett. Warhawk's real name is Rex Stewart, and he was named after one of John's friends from the military, Rex Mason, who would later become the Element Man Metamorpho in the DCAU. In an alternate timeline, Warhawk is shown to have teamed up with Static and future Batman Terry McGinnis, as well as old Bruce Wayne. Number 4. Cruz. The crazy thing about Nora Allen is that she isn't even the only child to come from these two League members. Nora Allen is part of the Justice League Legacy team, which Hunter Prince is also a part of from an alternate timeline, which Hunter Prince and Serenity of course are also part of from an alternate timeline. She is the daughter of Green Lantern Jessica Cruz and Barry Allen aka The Flash. It's kind of a strange pairing, but definitely an interesting one, and one that's sort of been foreshadowed before, but I always just think of Iris, so that's just me. Nora and Hunter also appear to be in a romantic relationship in the Legacy story in which they both appear. Nora can tap into the Speed Force but does not seem to possess a Green Lantern ring like her mother. Number 3. Fury. Originally, Hippolyta Trevor was known to be the daughter of Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor, born from their marriage and first appearing in Wonder Woman issue 300. Weirdly enough, one of the first interactions we see with her and her mother is her training with a giant metal ball and asking for advice from another version of Wonder Woman who is also joined joining Diana and Steve for dinner and is currently the main continuity Wonder Woman. The Wonder Woman that is Lita's mother is from Earth 2, the original Wonder Woman in terms of comic continuity. I also love older Wonder Woman in this with her like gray streak in her hair. So cool. Steve Trevor looks creepy though. He's got a creepy face. He's like, I'm 60 now. Why do you look so creepy, Steve Trevor? Why? Number 2, Damian Wayne. Damian Wayne is the very stubborn son of Batman and sometimes ally, but mostly villain, Talia al Ghul. Damian spent his formative years growing up with his mother, and as such was a trained and egotistical killer and jerk when he was dropped on Bruce's doorstep. However, over time he has learned restraint and discipline and has worked to earn the pride he initially felt as being the son of Batman. While Batman has many children technically, as in a way most of his Robins are kinda like his foster kids, Damian covets the title of the son of Batman, being his naturally born heir. Number 1, John Kent, or Superboy. But of course, there are just so many Superboys, I feel like calling him John is a little less confusing, though as you've already seen, there are also many versions even of Jonathan Kent as well. We already had another one on this list. This version is kind of the son of Superman and Lois though. He was born during Convergence, and he as a baby and his parents later ended up living on a different Earth than the one that they originally inhabited because of the New 52 reset. As there were already a version of Superman and Lois Lane on this Earth, they decided to go undercover to avoid getting in the way and adopted the surname White for a time. They were the Whites. John grew up relatively normally but was always somewhat suspicious of his parents' activities. Eventually, the cat was out of the bag when John's powers manifested, and his parents told him the truth about who they really were. The cat wasn't just out of the bag though, the household cat was also accidentally killed by John's heat vision. So yes.
Kicking off the list at number 10, Jade, aka Jennifer Lynn Hayden. She made her comic book debut in All-Star Squadron issue 25 back in 1983. She is the daughter of Green Lantern, Alan Scott, and Rose Canton, aka Thorn. Now after conceiving their children, Rose fled, fearing that she would harm them, right? So she gave them up for adoption and they were separated. Jenny Lynn, aka Jade, was adopted by a couple in Milwaukee in the suburbs. She didn't know she had a twin brother until her late teens. Surprise, nice. Once the two of them met up, they tried to join the Justice Society, but were rejected. But have no fear, the two of them joined other children of Justice Society and then formed Infinity Inc. And then Jade's powers are of course similar to her father's due to his exposure to magical energies. She's able to generate green energy and shape it into constructs according to her will, right? We all knew this. The sibling bond is a strong one. Jade and Todd both can communicate through a limited form of telepathy. It's a twin thing, you know? And guys, before we continue on to number 9, if you haven't already, go ahead and give us a thumbs up because it really goes a long way for us here at our Bat Cave. Also, huge news, we have another channel coming back after 3 years of running the show over here. Landon himself. He's not here, but if he was, he would be there. Landon himself is coming back with Landon Productions, premiering December 7th. So go and follow and then turn on your notifications because you don't want to miss what he's got coming. I've seen glimpses of it here at the studio and I'm pumped. Let's do it.
Is the Canada Goose gonna take it on?
I'm on top like I'm goddamn Mario, right? I'm just
Not today. Maybe tomorrow. Okay, is this real life right now?
Number 9, Zatanna. Appearing for the first time in Hawkman issue 4 back in 1964, Zatanna is the daughter of Zatara. She's a stage magician and she's really good. Like, really good, because you know, she has actual magic abilities. So she makes a pretty decent amount of money with these shows, which makes sense. I mean, if I had these powers, I would do the exact same thing. David Blaine who? Bye. Her father helped out the Justice Society and the Justice League of America numerous times. He was like the magic guy on the team, although Zatanna got the official membership. She gets her deeds done by speaking her spells backwards. Her mother is quite noteworthy as well, I'd say. So Zatanna thought she had died in a car crash after her birth, but actually, she's a Homo Magi, a race of magical humans that coexisted alongside Homo sapiens. And her name is Cindella. She's from another dimension. How neat. The classic made you think I was in a car accident so I can fulfill my destiny with my own magical species scenario. Nice, classic. We've all been there. Number 8, Lord Chaos. Making his debut in New Titans Annual issue 7 back in 1991, Lord Chaos is the son of Donna Troy and Terry Long. Now, Donna Troy may have a pretty confusing backstory, but her son, Robert Long, isn't as crazy. So let me explain. He was born with the powers of a god, right? So with that, he ended up going a little bit mad, right? He's a little bit crooked. So he ages himself, kills his own mother, and then of course becomes the dictator known as Lord Chaos. Nice, dude. Awesome. Great plan. Yeah, his name sounded evil for a reason, so you were onto something. Inspired by the original Titans team, a group of super teens going by the name Teen Titans go back in time to kill Donna before Lord Chaos, the now evil world conquering god, was born. Not a bad idea. We love time travel. Let's do it. But here's the fun part. Lord Chaos goes back with them in order to prevent them from killing his mother/him. Gotcha, there he goes. So Robert was still born, but thankfully the Titans of Myth stepped in and stripped the mother and child of these godlike powers. The Titans of Myth bringing along Lord Chaos, stating he will either learn or cease to be. Learn or cease to be. This sounds like my grade 12 math teacher. He'll either learn or he'll cease to be. Now look at me. Ceasing to be. Sorry, Mr. Lake. Number 7, Maxine Baker. The daughter of Buddy Baker, aka Animal Man, has quite the abilities. In the pre-Flashpoint era, Maxine Baker wasn't a huge character, right? But she of course picked up some of the powers from her father. Those powers being the ability to tap into the life web and control it. And with the new 52, Maxine got bigger and badder. She became the avatar of the Red, which sounds a lot cooler already. I mean, come on. The Red is another name for the life web. So Maxine can control every animal on Earth as well. And that's not all. She's super powerful, guys. She can also control the elements and create this Eldritch Blast. It's no wonder most of the time people are trying to get a handle on her powers. I mean, even she struggles with them. Controlling animals would be a sweet gig, eh? Imagine the practical jokes. Oh my god. Number 6, Thunder. Making her first appearance in Outsiders Volume 3, Issue 1, Thunder is the daughter of Black Lightning and Lynn Stewart. So Anissa Pierce had a pretty nice deal with her father, okay? The deal was that if she graduated from college, only then can she consider a career in crime fighting. And the night of her graduation, that is exactly when she donned the costume. It didn't take long for her to get approached by Red Arrow, who offered her a position in the Outsiders. Her father though, her father is like, no, you have to resign from these crazy people, I don't like this. And of course she said, no way, Jose. And then, when Savick came sniffing around again, her father actually helped the team out and her. And this was a cool time. This was the first time they had actually seen each other in action. What a moment that would be, eh? So Anissa was trained by Nightwing in combat, nice. She's a trained doctor, nice, hence the whole education before kicking ass deal. That plus her abilities to increase the mass of her body and become like immovable and super strength. Look out, you're toast. Number 5, Dawn Allen. You can probably guess this one by the name, yes. The daughter of super speedster Barry Allen, aka The Flash. She made her comic book debut with Adventure Comics 373. She's a fun one. She's actually born in the future during the first crisis. See, this was in the 30th century before the Legion stuff in the 31st century, right? So they had to hide their powers. They also go by the name of the Tornado Twins for good reason. They both obtained a small amount of super speed from Barry. So they rescued Wally West and it was so badass. Like they knew what they were doing. Just because they aren't as fast doesn't mean that they don't know how to get the job done. So the twins worked side by side and when they combined their efforts, they were unstoppable. I mean, just these two crazy tornadoes coming at you. I mean, can you be more intimidating? I don't know. Number 4, Bruce Wayne Jr. He's part of the Super Sons, so I have to include him in this list, obviously. Bruce Wayne Jr. We go on over to the 1965 version of Bruce Wayne Jr. making his debut in World's Finest, issue 154. He's the son of Catherine Kane, and as you could have guessed, Bruce Wayne Sr. Yep. He's part of a duo called the Super Sons, and that name is pretty perfect for the gig. Definitely belongs here. Sided by Superman Jr., the two grew up together. I mean, the opening of their issues show them both reading up about their dads and all their crazy achievements. They even get married on the same day. I mean, these are life goals. I mean, I hope me and my super buddies do this one day. Or just me and my buddies get married one day, that'd be nice. My favorite part is seeing the two interact, right? Like Superman's powers, there's one point where Superman's not letting baby Batman down from a teeter-totter. And he's like, nah, I'm not letting you down till you admit that my dad's cooler than yours. And he's like, alright, I guess. And comes back down all shameful. Bruce Wayne Jr. actually grew up forgetting about his father's identity somehow, and then when he was reminded of it, he tried to capture a crook while disguised as Batman. I mean, yeah, if my dad was like, hey, I'm Batman, I'd be like, okay, what size is that? I can probably squeeze in there. It didn't go well for him, you know, the first shot. He didn't gather any evidence. He just went in raw. It wasn't great. So after an argument with his father, Bruce Jr. left to meet up with his other man, Clark Kent Jr. See, they're friends. They don't go too far for a reason. I would watch a buddy cop show with these two just saving people and smashing things up, but they have to be kids. They have to be moody little kids, and they have to require little super naps in the middle of heated battles. That's the deal. Number 3, the Huntress. First appearing in All-Star Comics issue 69 back in 1977, Helena is a lawyer for Cranston, Grayson, and Wayne, but of course, that's not all. Earth 2 is home to the daughter of an older Batman and Catwoman. That's right, when she was only 19 years old, her mother, Selina Kyle, now a retired Catwoman, in the future, died in a tragic mishap, right? Now, to add insult to injury, this henchman, Silky Cernak, was the reason behind this photo that just popped up that shows Selina Kyle as Catwoman murdering a police officer. Not a great photo, not cool. If TMZ was around, they'd be like, oh my God, trending, BuzzFeed, let's do it. This is wild, right? So of course, Helena was upset and wanted to make things right. So she took a page out of her parents' book and became the Huntress. She went after Silky Smooth Cernak and got him arrested. Awesome. Her mother ended up being okay after all. Don't worry, yeah, it turns out she didn't even kill anybody. The photo was tampered with the whole time. Bad guys doing bad stuff. She kept the suit and eventually wound up on the Justice Society of America. See, if you want the truth, kids, you just gotta get a super suit and, wrap some dudes in nets. It's easy. Just make them talk. It's easy. Number 2, Dina Drake, Black Canary. Flower shop owner by day, superhero at night. The classic life thing. She would work alongside Larry Lance before marrying him. How cute. I mean, he died by the hands of Aquarius, and then that forced Dina to move from Earth 2 to Earth 1 to start a new life, but cute nonetheless. But have no fear, it was in doing this that she met Green Arrow, and they of course hit it off. She has this really awesome ability called the Canary Cry, which is what I do when I, don't get what I want. Where basically she just screams really loud, knocking back her foes. It's a great combo with her fighting skills. Her origins are a little confusing. So before the Crisis storyline, there was a 1983 issue that had Starman taking Black Canary to the Thunderbolt dimension, okay? Where she sees a coffin containing Larry Lance and herself. Yeah, here's the scoop. So in the Justice League of America issue 220, it's revealed that Dina and Lance gave birth to a daughter. That daughter was cursed by a magician. The curse being that the child has an ear-piercing scream, so this baby was brought to the Thunderbolt dimension and then was made to believe that her parents were dead. And finally, number 1, Superboy, also known as Connor Kent or Con-El, made his debut in 1993 Adventures of Superman issue 500. So Superboy was created to essentially be a replacement for Superman, right? And they didn't ask me, how rude. So after Superman died fighting Doomsday, knocking him out, Project Cadmus then used Kryptonian DNA to make Superboy. So he's the son of both Lex Luthor and Clark Kent. What a weird combo. They wanted a new hero, they wanted to feel safe, so why not just make a clone of Superman? Easy peasy, right? It sounds fine. Cadmus wasn't able to get Superman's DNA, so they grabbed a human clone, made it look like him, and it turns out if you put a clone near the grave of a dead superhero, you absorb some powers. So Superman's bioelectric aura was absorbed by the clone and thus was given tactile telekinesis, which means you can simulate the powers of Superman for a small amount of time. He even rocked a high-tech visor to solve that problem, He was cool looking, he knew what he was doing. The Metropolis kid wasn't a fan of being called Superboy also, so watch your mouth out there.